Hey everyone, this is Patricia with Richard Garay using his Celebrations collection. I have a card to share with you. It's a clean and simple card, but it's also a card that I wasn't exactly sure how it was going to come out. I wanted to use one of the embossing folders that's with the Celebrations collection, the first collection of his. It has a nice little lacy kind of lattice work type look to it. So what I did is I embossed two panels here. I embossed the card base here, the orange color card base, and then I also embossed the white cardstock panel to go on top of my orange card. Now what I did here is I also used some dies from the collection. I used the oval die to cut out a little opening in this. And I think what I want to do is I want to create a lot of texture and dimension, even though, like I said, it's really a clean and simple card. So I apply some foam adhesive on the back, and I'm going to pop dot this up onto the card. And now to decide how I'm going to decorate it. I pulled out a couple more of his dies. These are the rosette dies, and instead of folding them to create an accordion rosette, I'm going to leave them as is and just cut along the crease where you would normally fold it and just curl those petals up. And I'm thinking what I'm going to do is I'm going to layer this. Now you see that I started with the orange card and then I have the white cardstock. I'm going to stay kind of with that color theme. I like the orange and I like the peachy kind of color. I like the softness of it, but I also like the boldness of it. And then next I wanted a smaller flower. So I used this little flower that's in one of his die collections. It has a little center that has little holes in it. You can die cut it with or without the holes, but I like the holes because it adds a nice little texture to it. So I'm just going to cluster this and see how I like it, and I like it. But what I want to do is I want to add a little bit more texture and bring in some twine. And since those flowers, I die cut it with the center piece of the die, it has those holes. I'm going to use those holes to thread through this blue twine that'll coordinate with the colors. The color of the flowers complement the orange, and it's also from the pattern paper from the same collection. So what I'm going to do is, my idea is to thread through all the holes and then have a little bit of twine in between and then thread through the other one. I want to have one continuous piece of twine to connect and layer underneath the larger orange flower. You'll see here in a little bit. But what I need to do is I need to get the flowers threaded, and I need to make sure I have just the right amount in between the flowers to layer these. I love the center hole of the first flower not threaded, but I did thread through the last hole of the second flower. I wanted that thread to come out, and on the first flower, on the bottom flower, the thread will come from underneath. So anyway, I'm just like, it's kind of like a shoelace. I have to loosen up some of it and pull it and tighten it up a little bit. Like I said, I need just a little bit in between to have like a little loop that I can then put the orange flower on top of. Little techniques like this can be a little tedious, but it's really worth the effort because I like the overall look, and I know that that twine is secure and it's not going to lose its place. So what I'm doing is I'm going to use some of the foam adhesive and go ahead and get the flowers adhered to the card. I really like the dimensions, so instead of just adhering the first base of the flower as is directly to the card, I went ahead and added some foam adhesive to that flower as well as the top flower. So now the peach colored pattern paper flower here is also adhered with the foam adhesive, and it stands above the blue flowers. And then just to add the next layer flower. Now I want to finish off the twine, and I really like knots. I like the look that they give. It's a little bit freestyle. It gives the twine a finished look. So I carefully did a knot, and it did not go close enough to the flower. So I very carefully did a very small knot, and you have to kind of guide the knot. You don't want to tie it right away to make it tight. You want to move the knot where you want it as close to the flower and then tie it tight. And hopefully you can see a little bit in the video and in the pictures. I have two knots on that string, and since I have the two on there, I'm going to add two knots on this other string on the other side. Now the same pattern paper that I used for the blue flowers, I had die cut this thank you that you'll see in just a little bit with the thank you die cut. Now, I don't know if you guys ever have this problem, but I really liked the design of the card and I liked the thank you. I just could not get the thank you to work out the way I wanted to. Because I have that white cardstock popped up on foam adhesive, I couldn't get the U part to adhere the way that I felt like it would look okay. I didn't want the unevenness of it to be adhered partially on the orange and then going up on to the white cardstock. So I felt like a better solution for the sentiment, and that way I knew that it was there for good and wouldn't fall off or get torn off by accident, was to use a stamped sentiment. So I'm using Celebrations again. It says thinking of you, and I found the ink in the Fun Stamper's Journey to coordinate with that same color blue pattern paper. So I'm just going to trim this at an angle, and then I'm going to trim the other side with a straight trim. And you'll see in a little bit, I used 2 foam adhesives, but I ended up just using 1. I adhered it only the foam adhesive on the left side, on the orange part of the cardstock. And then I just used liquid adhesive to adhere the right side of it to the white cardstock. Now I love these Lumberjack Days rivets. I think they went perfectly with this card as well as the dots from Make Amazing Happen. All of that just helped to finish the card, and I fluffed up the little petals a little bit more on that top flower. And that finishes this card. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you have a great day.